Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Strategy Working Committee. Please, both staff, members of the public and committee members, make sure your cell phones are either off or on silent whilst the meeting is in progress. And if a cell phone interrupts this meeting, we will stop and wait for the device to be muted. So this meeting is being recorded and is being held in the supper room of the Waihinga Centre in the Mount. It's been live streamed and will be available on the council's YouTube. The emergency exits for this room are the door that you came in and the exit behind me. If we do need to evacuate the building, please use one of these exits and assemble outside the playground. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. And in the event that we experience any unruly or intimidating behaviour during the course of the meeting, we will adjourn until it is safe for us to reconvene. Members of council or the committee and staff will congregate in the office area behind me if that action is necessary. We'll start the morning with a karakia. Councillor Gray, would you like to open here this morning?
Sure can.
Yeah.
Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa pounamu te moana, hei huarahi mā tātou I te rangi nei, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa.
Kia ora. Thank you. Other than Councillor McCauley and Councillor Elams, do we have any other apologies this morning? Apologies from Councillor.
I haven't heard anything from Woody.
Maybe a late arrival for Councillor Woodcock. Do I have a mover to accept our apologies this morning? Councillor Gray, and a seconder for those. Councillor Maynard, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. The motion is carried. Are there any conflicts of interest clear this morning? No, none. Are there any acknowledgements or tributes?
Yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge the passing of Keith Snell, one of our long-time residents in the South Wairarapa, dairy farmer, breeder of bulls, and he was on our water race committee over a number of years, so I'd just like to acknowledge his passing.
Any other tributes or acknowledgements? Moving on, that will now bring us to public participation. Presenters have 5 minutes to speak to the committee, including question time. When we get to 4 minutes, Amy will ring a bell or raise her hand, and at 5 minutes, I will let you know that your time for speaking has come to an end. And can we please firstly invite Rebecca Kempton to present? When you're ready, Rebecca.
Kia ora, my name is Rebecca Kempton. I'm from Te Hukanui Greytown Gallery of Contemporary Fine Art. So we've got a presentation.
I have a video. Oh, sorry. Can you just get it? Yep, so we'll just take 1 minute. This isn't part of your time, Rebecca. So Amy's just going to get that set up. And I'm just going to shut the door.
No, the camera. So Amy, this is the PowerPoint presentation I've got through.
Yeah, so I'm just waiting for this other thing to load. I might just want it to load. This is where an interpretive dance piece, most helpful. Councillor Bosley, this is your big moment.
It's on a shot. I'll lead you.
Oh, go to that. We have this as a handout as well. Right.
Let me know when you want me to the next one.
Oh, so, yeah. So why should we be chosen to tenant the old library building with a rent concession? We meet all 4 community outcomes in alignment with the long-term plan. We meet a number of the suitable community uses of the old library building mentioned in the Stellarbourne Park Management Plan, arts and cultural hub, education centre and galleries. It provides those who exhibit in the gallery an income, employment and opportunity to connect with others when they often work in isolation, a sense of pride, and in turn stimulates the local economy. Provides an opportunity to enhance awareness and knowledge of the people and places of importance to tangata whenua and local communities. We will work with Popowai to ensure all visitors who come to the gallery are given every opportunity to learn about Māori culture, as well as understand more about our local marae and significance it holds in our region. There is a need for community art space in South Wairarapa. We have a wait list of people who wish to join our gallery and more inquiries every week. There is no similar space in the entire South Wairarapa. 100% of the building will be available for use by the creative community. We will establish school and early childhood education visits. This will engage over 2,500 children in the South Wairarapa. We will be running a program of events. We are planning a program of events which includes free workshops, artist talks and demonstrations. Over the last few months, we have shown that we can make a difference in the lives of others. The visual arts traverse all boundaries and unite. We have overwhelming support from the community, visitors to the area and local businesses from the entire South Wairarapa. We wish to provide a space to 100% of creative community that is affordable for those involved. 1, we currently split the expenses among the artists who exhibit. 2, there is no risk to the landlord, rent and expenses are covered. 3, this is a sustainable structure, one that means we are not standard commercial dealer gallery, one that relies on sales to pay bills. We never want to be a place that pushes sales and becomes a retailer. Our artists just want the chance to showcase their work, teach others and be part of a community. Our gallery will be the headquarters for Greytown Art Town 2025, a month-long arts festival planned for September 25. We're collaborating with the other art groups in the community to deliver the best small town arts festival in New Zealand. One that will be similar to the Greater Winter Festival, bringing large numbers of visitors to the region to enjoy everything the local arts community has to offer. One resident quotes, "I just love visiting your gallery regularly. It's the only space in Greytown I feel comfortable coming to without the feeling I need to buy something. This is our ethos." Next slide, please. So just at a glance, I've put a few stats together. We have had over 6,500 visitors through the gallery since the beginning of the year. We take a daily tally, and I actually added them. We are open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have provided a space for over 30 artists from Featherston, Martinborough, Greytown and the Northern Wairarapa to showcase their work, earn an income pool their place of work with many more in the future to have the same opportunity and given them a place to connect with others when often they work in isolation. We have organised and successfully implemented the first Poppy Walk project in collaboration with Greytown School and the RSA. Next year, we hope to include all South Waialata education institutes. We have provided learning opportunities for artists, including seminars from gallery owners, fine art printing and framing experts, and a social media specialist. We have held 3 successful exhibitions with the next one planned for Matariki. We have appointed a cultural curator, New Phillips. We have formed an incorporated society with officers appointed, monthly meetings established for all members of the gallery and all funds in the society used for gallery and running expenses. So I'm not going to go through the next bit. It really is something that we've got a handout and you can have a look at it, but there is just some things around the rates being apportioned to the building. So I've just put a little spreadsheet there in regards to depending on how much the rates will be as to how much rent we can pay. We sort of have a maximum amount of the artists that we can afford going forward. So that may change depending on, we haven't had the exact answer to that question in regards to the rates. So I just thought I'd put if the rates are this, then we can pay this. So currently the rates are sitting on a 2,000 parcel square piece of land surrounding the old library building. And our building's just 131 squares. So, and currently it's been used by a lot of other parts of the community. It's public space and all that kind of thing, like the Greytown market and Weaver Barn and the Winter Festival, and it's open to the public. So that's quite a huge piece of land. So we're just waiting to get that. Thank you.
Thank you.
20 seconds if there was one quick clarifying question, not a comment, a question. No, I think you did a really thorough interview, Rebecca. So no questions.
No questions? Cool.
Thank you.
Send these out. We've got the handouts with all that information for you to.
They just pass it out.
Cool. Thank you, Rebecca. So our next speaker is Linda. Welcome, Linda, to a seat. I'll just give Amy a moment to set up and then do your timing so that we don't shortchange you any.
We prepared a video for you. We feel that this is probably the best way to explain how we feel about the gallery in Greytown and how the public feels. So thank you. Please play the video.
Did you have any final words on your wonderful video?
I think the video shows how passionate we are as a group of artists. And it's not just about us, it's about the community, it's about the education of our children and providing the opportunity for us to mentor young emerging artists as well as to collaborate together and, bring fabulous exhibitions to Greytown. So we're very passionate. I think you can see that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Linda. That is time. But thank you for the wonderful video presentation.
Totally.
And Jane is next.
I wasn't aware that I had no space to speak. Thank you. I don't have anything to add, I'm afraid.
Lovely.
That's all right. I've got you on the list, but if you don't need your 5 minutes, that's also fine.
Councillors like to address any questions that they may have that I can answer in this time?
Yep, if we've got any clarifying questions, if we could do a couple of questions. Anybody?
Maybe not a question, but a suggestion. I love what you've done in Greytown. It looks absolutely beautiful. I haven't had a chance to come in myself, but based on that video, I think I'll be there this weekend. Is there a potential for you to expand that model into other areas in South Wine?
Goodness, that's not a question that we've considered.
You'd have to change the name a little bit.
Yes, we'd have to, wouldn't we? Wow, that's a really exciting proposition. Maybe if we can make this model work, then certainly it would be something that I know Altonborough would benefit from. Gladstone, Carston has its art scene already, of course, but this is complementary. Next year, we mentioned that there's going to be the Greytown Festival of Art, which will be enormous for the gallery, which would act hopefully as a headquarter for the organisation and a place for us to welcome the public to organise what's going to happen around the region in terms of Greytown. In answer to your question, if that went really well, there's no reason why that Greytown model shouldn't be then extended to all of the satellite or the other towns, which would make it a nation. Sorry, not a nationwide. That's a little bit.
Yeah, nationwide. That's good. Go with that.
So he's not who's to say. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, easily.
Thank you.
Alistair.
Yeah, thank you. And this is probably to any one of you. You put up some things about what you can afford to pay. Do you see going forward that there will be any ongoing support required from council financially into the future, or is this, are you setting this up to be potentially completely self-funding for everyone today?
Self-funding.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because we split the expenses by the amount of artists there, and that's done on a quarterly basis. The expenses are already paid upfront by the artists that are exhibiting. So, the risk to other dealing galleries and things like that, where they just have to have a sale to pay a power bill, well, that's not us. So we have expenses paid, and then the artists do a day on duty every 20, so be open week. So there's no further, we will be applying for funding from Creative New Zealand and some other potential places because we'd love the gallery to be, have proper lighting, gallery lighting, and have it, all the lovely things, gallery hanging things, and the workshops that we want to run with kids, and Trevor Millie, who we're engaging with at the moment, art students. So we want to have more funds coming in, and that will come from places. New Zealand. So no, the council might be asked, but can we please have it? Can we please have it? So.
Great, we like that.
Probably musical areas in these financially challenged times.
Yeah.
Nice money.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Right.
Councillor Main and then Violet. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentations. I thought that they were absolutely fantastic. It's a great way to be able to showcase the work that you're doing there. When I came just for ANZAC. It was, you know, great to see that the back area was used by the school. Are you looking at, with the poppies? And I was just wondering, well, so are you looking at this as still being, utilised, like the grounds can still be used for, other functions within the community? So to continue with the market or to be able to, yes, yeah.
And that's great for everyone. Like all of those things that go on in Stelworth, it's very important for the entire community. And for us as an arts, you know, it's kind of an extension of that reserved space. And you know, the Stelworth Park Management Plan talks about, you know, it was gifted to the council to be a civic centre and for use for the public. You know, that was the main sort of thing in the Stelworth Park Management Plan, and that it needs to be a recreation hub, which it really is, and we're an extension of that. You know, in the Stelworth Park Management Plan, I think we met 3 of the 4 things that were mentioned for the intention of, you know, any sort of commercial activity that was to go on in the entire space. So we sort of see it as a whole, really. Yeah.
And about 20 seconds left, so a quick question, Violet.
My question comes to, do you have space there for Toi Māori, so Māori artists with like raranga carving, those kind of things?
Yes, we've got that. We've engaged, so New Phillips, our cultural curator, he's really keen to kind of connect us as well, and through Hawaii to Māori artists. That is absolutely, we really want that to be kind of a focus, so that when we bring children in, that is taught and learned every day.
Wonderful, thank you. So that's time. No, you've done a wonderful job, and this subject will be discussed later in the morning. And I'm sure that without too much delay, someone will be in touch to let you know. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So, bearing in mind that this does fall on the agenda later in the morning, are there any actions from public participation this morning?
At this time, we doesn't have.
Great. So the next item on the agenda is extraordinary business. Now, I am aware of 2 pieces of extraordinary business this morning. The first is one that I am bringing to the table, and it will be a 6th recommendation in my chair's report relating to the roading rate differential, and our need to address that this morning. So, I will move that. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Lee Martin. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Thank you. The motion is passed. And the second piece of extraordinary business this morning is from the Mayor, and it is an LGNZ remit that needs to be discussed today. Again, did you want to speak briefly to that?
So the Gisborne District Council have written to other councils seeking support for a remit that asks LGNZ to request government to provide a mechanism for councils to deal with derelict buildings that fall short of the dangerous definition. And if we wish to support it, we would have to discuss it today, because we don't have another meeting before the deadline.
Martin, you'll move.
Yes, I'm happy to second.
I was going to say, I'm happy to do that. Councillor Old will second it. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. All those against, no. Perfect. That motion is also carried, and both of those items will be added to the agenda later in the table.
I could add a E2 to members.
Nice, thank you. Meeting minute confirmation. We're now considering the strategy working committee meeting minutes on the 8th of May. Are we aware of any corrections that need to be made?
She's probably got the same one I've got.
Councillor Palmer.
No, no, will it?
Oh, great.
I don't know if it's the same one, it might be. Under decision B1.
Yes, it is.
Great. Point number 3, it's got down the bottom that it was moved by councillor Plummer and against councillor Gray. but I think that might be seconded, councillor Gray.
Sorry, seconded.
Yeah, you've just got. Yeah. So it's got the moved, where it, in brackets, where it should be moved and seconded. You've just got moved.
Against instead of second.
Any correction?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
A clerical error.
Right.
Just a little thing.
Yeah, so any other corrections? No, perfect. Do I have a mover to confirm that the minutes of the strategic committee held on 8th May are true and correct, subject to that change? Thank you, councillor Gray, and seconded by Violet. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, no. The motion is, are there any matters arising in these minutes? Fantastic. That takes us on to our first decision report from the Chief Executive and officers. It's the adoption of the Featherston Master Plan and the implementation plan. And so I need to foreshadow that there are 2 new recommendations to be added to that paper. The first is to, you'll see number 2 says, adopt the Featherston Master Plan and the implementation plan. We seek to add a 3rd recommendation that separates the implementation plan into its own resolution so that the implementation plan can be considered in our LTP cycles rather than being locked in at this stage. And recommendation number 4 will be a correction to the wording within the document itself. On page 40 under drinking water, it refers to the Waiahine wastewater treatment plant, which should just be the Waiahine water treatment plant, given that it's under drinking water. So I will move that we receive the adoption of the Featherston Master Plan and implementation plan report. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Gray. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, no. Motion is carried. Russell, would you like to speak to the report?
May I say you're looking fantastic?
Very,
Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Chair, for that, those changes. It's an important day today for whole of council to councillors hopefully adopting the Featherston Master Plan as it stands with the amendments that follow the careful deliberations that were undertaken through good discussion. I just want to break here, if I may, and for councillors, duly introduce a new manager in my team. We have Mia Wilton. Mia Wilton comes to us as Manager of Environmental Services since Rick's leaving last year. And Mia brings to the table extensive policing experience and community interface work, not only in New Zealand, but in the Northern Territory. So she brings all those skills into South Wairarapa.
Welcome.
Other parts of introduction, Chair, are apology from Rhea Anderson. She's over in Europe at the moment, but we do have online Richard Knott, who has been the other consultant for the Featherston Master Plan and all the work on the journey of that. We also hopefully have reps from Kiwi Rail. We may or may not have them there.
Diane is in the
and I make that point on the basis of not only do you have before you the amended Featherston Master Plan, but behind it you also have the response of the proposed costings around the proposed access way from the medical centre through to the Fitzherbert Street parking area by the pharmacy. And the third point for total consideration or a package of consideration for councillors is to consider the update from Kiwi Rail and their community discussions following combined meetings had between Kiwifruit, Deputy Mayor, myself, in terms of the impact that has been had from median structure based on Fitzherbert Street near the rail crossing. So just those three aspects. But in terms of the Featherston Master Plan, we've gone away and captured amendments from the deliberations, the clear points that were conveyed by councillors. Within the mix of amendments in the document, there is provision for only one new crossing, and that's to be located at the western end of town, which is, as you come into town from Wellington, it will be a level crossing, and all the other earlier mentions of crossings have been removed, i.e. the earlier mentioned new ones. Just one remains in the application. We have heard the clear points about no reference to Main Street, and that going through the document there are changes where there is capture on reference to Fitzherbert Street or State Highway 2. Also, Richard in his work on slight reshape of the document is consultation work that's been undertaken has all been captured and mentioned for simplicity under section 6. And also other things, we've also looked at, I've also asked the consultants recently to make the link between the work in 2021 for the spatial plan, considering the areas identified there and the potential areas around the periphery of Featherston for any other growth. And so by that, we've also had to consider natural hazards and what natural hazard information we've got in the Warwick Combined District Plan. So under section 7, specifically 7.3, we've made a provision for inclusion of flooding maps under 7.3. The other point before I hand over to Richard, who can take us through the document, your councillors will have to turn their heads a bit, sorry, is that we have updated from feedback, we've made a slight amendment to the 6 principles under section 9.2. We've looked at the 4th principle, which reference support whānau Māori, and we've extended that to mean support whānau Māori and families to thrive as part of the 4th principle under 9.2. In terms of only other point I would make is that when we look at the maps, what the key map is section 10, the master plan strategy map, which is the overall map. That's been updated. And the map, both the map and the key includes mention of potential greenfield areas for consideration going forward. That means we've looked at areas that could be open to further growth, dependent on further investigation work. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Richard Knott, who can take us through the specific changes he's made. And as he talks, I'll just make sure that we don't miss anything. The range and change that put forward for council.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. Thank you for having me here again. First off, if I could just pick up going through the document, we found some minor edits that are needed where I've missed a couple of things in my update. So if I could perhaps just highlight those first. Paragraph 5 or section 5.2, which is on page 7, point E says SH2 Main Street rather than SH2 Fitzherbert Street. So we need to update that. Then in 13.4 and 13.5, which is on page 25, we need to, and apologies for this, I missed 2 things where I've written SH1 rather than SH2. So in each of those 13.4C and 13.5A, SH1 needs to be updated to say SH2, obviously. So apologies for that. And then just to say the photograph in 7.3, which is the image we've included for the flooding maps, you may find that you can't read that. I've realised that where that's gone into the PDF, it's gone in as a really low resolution. So I'll update that to make sure that's more readable. And then the final thing is in terms of updates, when I was updating the PDF, which I hadn't produced the actual original document in terms of the sort of publishing it, I had some trouble with section 14, the priorities and implementation plan, in terms of maintaining the table and the colours beneath the text to make it more readable as rows and columns. I've now got a version which actually includes those in it as per the document that went out to consultation. So that's just an issue of making the document more readable and nicer to look at. So I've got a version which I believe we should use rather than the one you've got where it's just a white page with text in it. So I think probably the most important thing that Russell's already picked up, but I wanted just to highlight, is that section 10. So we're on section 10, page 12. What we've done there is noted councillors' discussion regarding the potential of bringing forward greenfield area and the potentially changing government position on release of greenfield land. And so we've highlighted those areas purple as potential greenfield areas. That includes the land in the south, which is you had a presentation on a few weeks ago from the landowners regarding potentially bringing that forward for residential development. And so we've highlighted those areas, and that links to 10.6, as Russell's mentioned, where we discussed that opportunity for greenfield to come forward, subject to obviously issues around flooding and other natural hazards being resolved. So they're the main points I wanted to pick up with you. And rather than me spend time running through the document end to end, because I'm sure you've all read it, I wonder whether it might be better for me to just be here for questions rather than anything more than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I tend to agree with you. Just to confirm, councillors, we will pick up those minor tweaks in recommendation 4. So we'll cover those off. Any questions for Russell or for Richard in relation to the master plan or the associated bits of documentation we've got today? Councillor Maynard and then Councillor Plummer.
Thank you very much, both to Russell and to Richard, for picking up what we put through, our last little pieces of concern, and actually taking them through and moving them into here, and then going further and ensuring that everything is correct there, and picking up those few more tweaks. Really appreciated. And this document is I feel a fantastic piece of work. Long time, a lot of work's gone into this. And I just I really appreciate all the work that both Russell's team and both yourself, Richard, and Anne-Marie have done over the years to be able to bring this to this stage. So much appreciated.
Councillor Plummer. Thank you, Councillor Maynard.
Yeah, thanks, Russell. So just so the councillors are aware, how does this now fit into the combined district plan? So assuming we pass this today, what happens to it with regards to the combined district plan?
I have further discussion with Hamish Westney in terms of the document. We go through it. We look at what's gone through a public process in terms of the Warwick Combined District Plan, and we make provision for any inclusion. If we can't go in, then the components which would be subject to a plan change, such as, for example, investigation work for the periphery areas further right. But they Hamish is aware of the master plan coming forward. So I will have those discussions in terms of what is currently in the plan and what can be included in the district plan.
Thank you, Russell. I have Councillor Gray, and then I have a question for you as well.
Just two very, very quick points. Yeah, like Councillor Maynard was saying, it's been a long time in the works, so long that we don't have Tintin and Snowy Featherston anymore, so that picture might need to be updated on page 5. And yeah, and then also just to highlight the fact that because we have chosen to have an enhanced annual plan this year and a long-term plan next year, I think that dovetails really nicely as we look to build the budget over the next 9 years rather than 10. Yes, that's all.
Thank you. Russell, my question relates to everyone's favourite topic, roundabouts. You and I, as you mentioned earlier, had a meeting recently that included Kiwi Rail and NZTA, and we did have a very brief discussion around roundabouts and their potential need based on traffic impacts from rail crossings. Do we need to somehow include future roundabouts directly into this document, or can we still include those in the future outside of the master plan?
Very good question. You can see at the western end of town, the end coming in from Wellington, that we have, from public process, we've stuck with the new crossing proposed as a traffic calming device, as guided by Richard and Reid. So that's gone through a public process. The challenge you have now is to any crossing of the size at that point may have a clash with the roundabout, would have a clash with the proposed crossing. So we have that issue. I would actually get Richard to comment on it also.
I mean, I think the difficulty is that's something we don't have a lot of clarity on, as to whether or not there would ever be a roundabout and the dimensions of the roundabout and exactly where it would be. So my gut feeling is that we leave things as is. I don't think that it coming in would have, a roundabout coming in would have a massive, I mean, it wouldn't have an impact on the biggest sort of high level things we're looking at achieving, which is that whole issue of moving to mixed use in the centre and looking at the upgrades of the footpath in front of the petrol station, and all of those things that I think are sort of independent of the roundabout.
Yeah, the roundabout would be additional to the master plan rather than sort of interrupting it in any way.
Yeah, and it would probably include its own version of the crossing that we have at the west end of town. It would be a revised version of that, but it would still achieve the same thing. I mean, I have to say personally, my main concern with the roundabout is the potential size of a roundabout and the impact that would have on land around it, given the size of vehicles moving through. But that's a future discussion, I think, really. So I think just leave things as they are, and you would achieve the same outcomes ultimately.
Thank you, Richard. Russell, final comment?
Yeah, just through you, Chair. The proposed roundabout has come up of late as a remedy or solution finding, forward solution finding. We went through careful agency interface with Kiwi Rail and NZTA. That topic was never brought up in the early stages prior to the document being taken out to the public. So we have a new alternative solution finding brought up late in the process. So
I appreciate that.
Can I just make some other summative points, please? Just in terms of councillors who've been on the journey, it's important to note some of the componentry in terms of the work done, in terms of any careful master planning work. So agency engagement, I've mentioned those. Master plan links to Wellington Regional Leadership Committee. It's identified as PDA, a priority development area, because it's like Featherston's location on the rail network. We've had careful work with stakeholders early on. The plan has a vision within it, which has been altered and heard back from and changed. It's got principles. Early stage was a discussion document that went out, so signalling a possibility through a discussion document. We've had formal consultation. We've had multi-informal engagements on Saturdays around the town, walkarounds, careful submissions and deliberations and amendments. So we are where we are today through that process.
Thank you, Russell. Hopefully a final question from councillor Olds.
No, thanks very much. Just a couple of things. One is I was on this journey when it was first initiated as a councillor around this table back in midway through 2019. And I must admit the final document is very positive, I guess, and looking forward of what Featherston looks like. And I want to thank the team very much, but also want to thank the wider Featherston community, because some of those early meetings that we had, there was a great deal of uncertainty about what this document may look like at the end of the day. But through over a period of time, of course, that's come to fruition, and we've got general acceptance and buy-in from our communities. I'm just wondering, a quick question, Russell, in terms of the Gange submission, in terms of where they, I guess, a potential development in the future. Would that fall under the Wairarapa Combined Districts Plan now, or is that is outside the scope of the Featherston Master Plan?
You've included some greenfield.
Yeah.
Greenfield.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So normally it would be a private plan change brought by a landowner, but councillors in deliberations did not want us to be too narrow in our thinking. So it could be a case of Ganges pursue a private plan change. We do some study work alongside that, but we work towards a certain more certainty for an area that could be opened up and provide that another level of housing around the periphery of Featherston. So that would be the process.
Thanks, Russell. Thank you.
Wonderful. Martin.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair, a question to, I'm not sure whether to you or to Richard, but Richard, you mentioned the new pedestrian crossing at, well, you referred to it as the western end. I think of it as the Wellington end, but never mind. I would have thought there was a crying need for a pedestrian crossing at the other end as well, where you have a number of residences on Fitzherbert Street who have to cross the road in order to get to school, for example, or play centre. And at the moment, there is no pedestrian crossing there. And it's not possible to walk with a pram, for example, up on the street side, basically the northern side of that street, because you come to Donald's Creek where there is a barrier to progressing. So we have at the moment a dangerous situation where a number of people with young children have to basically take a risk every morning. And even though the traffic has been reduced to 50k, an awful number of people don't seem to ever see it, I know.
We did, just before Russell speaks, we did debate at length the addition of further crossings. I don't think there was a suggestion of them being quite that far, we'll call it north, even though it's probably east, that far up. But we did debate heavily during deliberations the correct number of crossings to be added. Any further comment?
So thank you, Your Worship. Deputy Mayor has given the nature of the discussions had at the deliberations, and there was the clear indication that councillors did not want to see a plethora of crossings, and the experience of travelling through Featherston being one of numerous crossings. So we were asked to edit, and the only one that survived being worthy of inclusion is the one at the Wellington end of town. That was through considered discussions and deliberation.
Thank you. Are there any last questions before we move on to resolutions? No, that being the case, we will move to the first of the resolutions. Once we've worked through the resolutions directly related to the adoption of the master plan and the implementation plan, we will have a quick discussion regarding the additional documentation that Russell referred to, which is the update on the connection between the community centre and Fitzherbert Street, and also the feedback document which Amy handed out from KiwiRail. So we'll take stages. So the first recommendation is to adopt the Featherston master plan. Yeah. So do I have a mover, please, to adopt Featherston master plan? Councillor Olds and seconded by Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The motion is carried. The next recommendation is to, we've got the perfect wording, agree that the implementation plan will be considered as part of future LTP cycles. A mover for that one, please. Councillor Gray and a seconder, Councillor Olds. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Fantastic. That motion is also passed. And the final recommendation on this particular part will be to delegate minor tweaks of the document to the CE. So do you have a mover for that one, please? Thank you, Councillor Gray. Councillor Maynard, seconder. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, no. Fantastic. The motion is carried. That brings us to a discussion regarding the Featherston Community Centre to Fitzherbert Street option. And now, this is a discussion piece. There is a couple of options, and Janice and I are suggesting that the recommendation here would be to provide a maximum capital budget of 132,000 to investigate accessway from Featherston Community Centre to Fitzherbert Street and car parking capacity. In relation to this document, is there any discussion on the document before we move to the resolution? I am on page 44 of the agenda. Gray.
Just to clarify, so this is just a walkway installed.
Yeah, so there are two options that are discussed. The first is a pedestrian walkway through the medical centre to the pharmacy, and that includes the purchase and creation of an easement. The second option is to have a two-way vehicle access along the same route, but obviously at approximately double the price. So that's the two. Janice is recommending option one, the pedestrian crossing or the pedestrian access way.
It's on the route that's marked on that.
Marked along the yellow route. It is the one we've discussed. We discussed it at deliberations. If there's no further discussion this morning, Councillor Blimmer.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from our Featherston councillors on the issue of this regarding vehicle or walking based on ageing population. So I don't have a view either way on this, but I'd really like to hear what our Featherston who have the finger on the pulse think about this, perhaps.
Can I just make a comment on
Yes.
that, because it's quite a wide open space there. And I've actually looked at the area itself. The only corridor, I guess, is that behind the baker and the pharmacy, leading up that little corridor there. So pedestrian access is all flat land. It's pretty accessible. I can't see any problems there. I think it's actually a very good move, actually.
Yeah, and my concern with considering a vehicle access at this point is until such times as the median strip fiasco is resolved, even having two-way access on the car park, it's still inhibited by the limited access way to that car park on the other side. So I think at this point, if we are interested in progressing, it should be for a pedestrian.
Are we, with that in mind, though, are we still going to just do an easement for the size of the footpath, or do we want to future-proof ourselves and do an easement for the 6 metres, should we wish to? Put an excess, otherwise we're going to end up with double the bill, double the survey costs. Why don't we just survey ones now? We don't have to build a road, but we could actually have that as an easement should we wish to build a road in the future.
Yeah, my personal view is that that particular spot is not for vehicle access either now or in the future. To be quite honest, it's directly alongside the railway line, effectively for the entranceway. We've seen the problems that are associated with vehicle access when the market days occur there. I really don't see that as a viable option moving forward. I think pedestrian access, absolutely fine, but I don't believe it's.
I would support councillor Old, and I would say, in my personal view, that a greater need is to make sure that whatever access goes there is properly lit so that people can.
And well sign written. Councillor Green.
Yeah, just to follow up from the signs, I think as part of this, I would love to see more signage, directing people to a rear access. If you're coming down off the hill, if there was a sign there that would say, head down this way to get to car parking for, for the bakery, for the market. But otherwise, you kind of don't really know where it is. I think I'd echo the other councillors in that it's not. You very much feel like you're taking your life into your own hands when you stand in the car park there on the weekends when there's the market going on. So I don't think increasing vehicle access across there is great. I'm not necessarily convinced that just a walkway is making the best use of that space, but I think it's a very difficult space. There's a lot of constraints to work within. And I think this is probably the best starting place that we can go from.
Councillor Bosley.
Do you think people end up sort of parking in that car park that will walk through?
They already do. So you can see on the map, there's sort of that green vacant section that's covered in lovely blackberries and grass. It's all very overgrown. There's a really nice walking track that's been handcrafted by residents, which is great. And I think it sort of shows that, people find a way through, but that walking track is now on private land and it's not a proper track. It's not great for people with mobility issues. So, yeah.
Who owns that car parking space that's there now?
It's the medical.
Is it the medical by the pharmacy?
Oh, so by the pharmacy, that is the landlord who owns the building that's got the pharmacy and the bakery in it.
Yeah.
They also own that car park. And then there's sort of the vacant space behind that gets used for the weekend market.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all owned by the same people. And I think from my understanding, they're very keen to work with us to try and get a good solution for their tenants, for sure. But, yeah.
Councillor Maynard.
And just looking back at what was said previously as well with regards to the access to the pharmacy from the medical centre. I think that's the most important thing that we can't, forget. And this is just, this actually helps to ensure that people can get their medicines without actually having to then drive right round back from away, from the medical centre and then back onto the main road, try and find a park there to be able to pick something up from the pharmacy. This is actually giving a good option with the car park that is available not just to the community centre, but also to the medical centre, so.
That was the original reason for having this table, was to
Yeah.
create that link.
Yeah,
Those two
I mean, I'm all for this.
I think we're at a point where we can look to move a resolution. So a reminder, it's provide a maximum capital budget in 2024/25 of 130,000 to investigate accessway to Featherston Community Centre to Fitzherbert Street and car parking capacity. Do I have a mover, please?
Can we just confirm you said 132,000 maximum, but the cost range was between 134.5 and 130?
Through the chair, they're including GST. So
we would go
for GST exclusive.
Oh, so you said, yeah, excluding GST, okay, then that's fine, yeah, sorry, I just needed to make sure that.
Okay, so we've got Colin to move it, Violet to second it. There was a race on there at the end. All those in favour?
Sorry, before you do that, you've just said to examine. That figure is including construction, so to examine and
To investigate.
And construct.
construction fees, that 134 includes the construction costs.
Wanting to be investigate and construct.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what you're asking the money for.
Yeah.
Construct.
Construction.
Otherwise, it's very expensive investigations.
Provide a maximum capital budget of in 2024/25 of 132,000, excluding just to investigate and construct an access way from Featherston Community Centre to Fitzherbert Street and car parking capacity. So we have Colin and Violet. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say no. Motion is carried. And the final topic on Featherston for the moment is the feedback for the Fox and Bell Street crossing upgrade. You do have a brief paper in front of you. Kiwi Rail, at our request, reconsulted or fully consulted with the Featherston and wider community regarding a preference on the closure of either Bell Street with an upgrade to Fox or an upgrade of Bell with the closure of Fox. They did so between 1 and 15 May and received 167 responses. 131 of those said that they would prefer to see the Fox Street crossing upgraded and kept open with the closure of Bell Street. The position we now find ourselves in is that Kiwi Rail have put the final decision of this piece of work back to this council and are seeking a decision from the table on whether the crossing of Bell or Fox should be closed and upgraded. Personally, I think we stick with the outcome of the consultation, but Diane, did you want to speak to that at all?
Sure.
Diane, are you still with us?
I am, sorry, had a bit of
lovely,
trouble
thank you.
making found the mute button. Look, there's not much to add really. That we got a good response. I thought that it, obviously there was their preference for Fox Street. People had some good reasoning around that. They were really interested in making sure that it was suitable for the emergency services. We spoke with the emergency services team, the fire service people as well, and they had a very strong preference for Fox Street remaining open and upgraded. And so aside from that, we just, we wanted to give you the opportunity to make the decision. So I don't think there's a lot more to say. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Andy, for joining us as well. What question, and I know it's not related directly to the consultation, but there is further crossing closures forecast for Featherston, being the Brandon Street crossing. When will further communication around that be available to the community? I acknowledge it's not a consultation item, but I do believe it's one that needs to be well communicated, well advanced. I'm just wondering what the plan is for that, please.
Yeah, sure. I'm really happy. So I really enjoyed working with Alex when we did the consultation for Fox and Bell, and I'd be really happy to work with her again to make sure that we are reaching the community well. There isn't an exact time frame at the moment, but I did think Alex and I had a brief conversation and thought that we could go back after this meeting to just inform the community about the outcome of the decision about the level crossing. So we could do that. We thought we'd put a press statement out and do some communications along those lines. And then I'm very happy to keep on working with her and providing updates through the stakeholder update that I'm doing on a regular basis, just to keep people informed. If there's more we can do, I'm really happy to build that in as well. But yep, really, really interested in keeping people informed.
Lovely, thank you, Diane. Question from Councillor Maynard.
Just look, anything that goes back through, I think it's important that they have this information as well to understand what councillors were looking at when coming to this decision. So with that being the case, can we just change the SWDC Community Board to Featherston Community Board? Yeah. Just to make sure that people know that it was just the Featherston Community Board and you didn't go to all three community boards.
Yeah, well, that's no problem.
Yeah, so that's just what I'm looking at. Lovely, thank you. If there's no further discussion, I am proposing that the resolution would be approve that KiwiRail proceed with the closure of the Bell Street level crossing and continue with upgrade work on the Fox Street level crossing. I'll move that and I'll take Councillor Gray as a seconder. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those against? Motion is carried. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Yes, hi everyone. Moving right along, we are fractionally behind time. So we will move into information reports from CE and council officers, the first being the actions item list. Any updates from staff on the action items?
Through the chair, no updates globally, I don't think, unless councillors have got any particular questions.
Any questions from councillors or staff regarding action items?
If we are able just to update the one, I'd just like to thank Janice for coming to the meeting for the Martinborough Community Board, and the item number, sorry, just trying to find that, with regards to the community board. There seemed to be a little bit of confusion about, because the action item had been moved from community board to here. And Janice was able to explain how, but that the action still says to report back to the community board. Can we just update it, because Janice had also said that she'd be back in July rather than it says in May that she was going to be reporting back.
Action item number 38, is this one? Yeah. That's the one we're referring to, Councillor Maynard?
Yes. But so I just, even if I can just say that, I just want to acknowledge the fact that Janice actually came to the meeting and she did do an update, but we'll be reporting back with this information in July rather than in May. Thank you.
Yeah.
We also have a verbal update to 191.
191. Thank you, Paul.
Pleasure. Councillors. Let's say verbal update against the gambling bylaw in respect to the sinking levy, and they were seeking clarity in respect of whether it was on a district basis or whether it was a whole of Wairarapa basis. So the TAB venue policy for the Wairarapa Combined Working Group does stipulate that under 5.1 that no new class 4 gambling venues may be established in the Wairarapa region, so it's covering the entire region. It isn't on a district basis. The cap that applies to the district and is currently at 10. And in South Wairarapa alone, we have 4 of those venues. So in adopting the policy, the council must have a regard to the social impacts of gambling in accordance with section 101(2) of the Gambling Act and the social impact statement. So the sinking levy policy is seen to be having a positive impact on that or since 2015 with a significant reduction. And any amendment to the sinking lid policy would be like this. So.
Lovely, thank you for that. Any final questions on the action items? If not, we will move right along. Thank you. That brings us to my report, D1 Chairperson's report. I take the report as read. For the most part, it is the resolutions to appoint. I did mention under extraordinary business that we do need to consider a 6th recommendation, which is the removal of the targeted roading rate differential, and which was proposed. And Janice, do you just want to quickly speak to the reasons for that?
Absolutely, through the chair. Last week we had a combined Wairarapa Council meeting up in Masterton, and there was a presentation there around the perceived inequality of moving to capital value where it affected forestry because the trees weren't captured in the capital value, and a suggestion that the Wairarapa councils work collaboratively to bring in a targeted differential. At that point, we, the Deputy Mayor and I thought that we were bringing that in for 24-25. On further investigation in terms of the consultation that was undertaken for the rate review process and the outcome of the deliberations, we are not on safe ground to bring in a 5-time differential for forestry at this point. It's quite clear that there is evidence required to support that level of move from a single rate to a multiplier of 5, and we haven't done that as a council at this point. So to avoid any potential legal challenge of a differential that we haven't consulted on, my recommendation is that we withdraw that differential for this cycle and to review it for the LTP alongside the economic development rate, which we've already withdrawn.
And which would also bring us in line with our neighbours who at the combined council indicated a real interest in doing this piece of work and doing it regionally rather than separately. So there is a definite advantage in this move on that front.
I'm just a little curious about what we actually did consult with our community on this differential at the time when we went out, because there seems to be some confusion about what we did.
Through the chair, we consulted on creating a targeted roading rate, but you didn't consult on a differential for that rate. So legally, in terms of bringing in a targeted rate for roading, you have consulted and there's community feedback that the community is aware there is to be a targeted roading rate. But it was at the meeting when you discussed differentials, so the community have had no opportunity to feedback or be aware prior to that there could be a differential.
So the only thing that we haven't consulted on is the element is the differential, right? So we
differential specifically to forestry, which is why I am recommending we move the forestry differential specifically, that aspect. That's the aspect we did.
And reconsulted on that. I take that as
consulting on it.
Regionally. Whatever we do, we do regionally.
I think that's a great idea.
It makes sense.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be optimistic and try and move all of the recommendations. So we have 6. The first is receive the chairperson's report. Second is to approve the appointment of Mark Fenwick to the Māori Standing Committee. The third is to approve the appointment of Karen Mikata to the Assurance, Risk and Finance Committee. 4, approve the appointment of Fitu Kauruna as an alternate to the Assurance, Risk and Finance Committee. 5, approve the amended terms of reference for council and committees as per Appendix 2, and that's required due to the approving of the appointees. And 6, is approve the withdrawal of the 5 times differential proposed for forestry as part of the road targeted rate. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Gray and seconded by Violet. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. The motions are all carried.
Well done. Well done.
Well, I'm not going to question the one. So.
Members report, we had a wonderful community climate and environmental wellbeing portfolio report from Councillor Gray. Would you like to highlight or add anything to your report?
I don't think I need to add too much to it. As read. I think the only things I would say is big thank you to Janice for bringing this symposium to my attention and allowing us to attend that. It was frightening and inspiring at the same time. It's very good. And then just to note from last week that we had the Wellington Regional Climate Change Impact Assessment report that came out through the Wellington Regional Leaders Committee. And just to note the very real impacts that we as a region will be feeling over the next few years in the face of a changing climate. And I think that that's something that we need to have front of mind when we're moving into decision making. Take any questions?
I attended CDEM, which is a Civil Defence and Emergency Management Committee yesterday, and the Deputy Chief of NEMA spoke, and one other mayor asked him how he sleeps at night based on the information he shared, and I more importantly wondered how I may sleep at night given the information he shares. So there is much work to be done in the emergency management natural disaster space.
Just make a comment to that through the chair. I also spoke to the Deputy CE last Friday, and he is willing to come and have a discussion around this table around some of those mid-scale events, not the catastrophic events, but in a way of trying to have those discussions around what a mid-scale event might look like.
Thank you to you, Madam Chair. That was a really good, really great report.
No, it's fantastic.
Very, very much. Councillor Gray, and I just thought, I saw that we will sent out about the Climate Tech Summit. That's coming up on the 20th of June, and I just thought that that would also like right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'll be a bit of climate crime on that day by flying over to Australia. So I'll be making emissions rather than.
Oh no. Okay.
Yes, I'm really upset that I'll be missing that one, but I would highly encourage anybody else to go.
And hearing what you've said, I think it would be quite beneficial. Unfortunately, I'm really at another hui, so I won't be able to attend. But I just saw that it was there, and I think that's probably quite timely.
Agreed. I am quite happy to move your report, move that we receive your report, Councillor Gray. Do you have things?
Enthusiastically.
And the enthusiasm.
All those.
Great report. I really enjoyed reading it.
Yeah, same.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The motion is carried. We will move to the extraordinary item that the mayor raised, and I will take a quick 10-minute break before we move to public excluded. Ready.
Right, thank you. So I think I probably can't do a lot better than just read what it is that the Gisborne District Council wish to have happen. And in summary, what they wish is that Local Government New Zealand would advocate to the government for legislative change enabling local authorities to remediate the decaying condition of unoccupied derelict buildings that have deteriorated to a state where they negatively impact the amenity of the surrounding area. And secondly, to incentivise repurposing vacant buildings to meet region-specific needs, for example, accommodation conversion. They need at least 5 supporting councils, and I am recommending that we be one of them. And then in the explanation note, they say there is no legislation enabling councils to take proactive action on the decaying condition of vacant buildings. Intervention is only possible when buildings become so dangerous that the Building Act 2004 allows for a dangerous building notice. Now, the absence of enabling regulations and enforcement tools can mean that derelict sites negatively affect both neighbourhoods and city centres. The public expects their local authorities to maintain community standards, and they frequently are disappointed by our inability to intervene, especially when keystone buildings deteriorate over decades. And then finally, they comment, the economic and social consequences of unoccupied derelict buildings negatively affect local businesses, city centre revitalisation, regional economic development and tourism activity. Negative impacts suppress local investment and the prosperity of regional centres throughout New Zealand. Legislative change to enable the remediation of decaying building conditions and unlock their potential, their economic potential, is in the national interest and the significance and is significant to local government as a whole. So that's the explanation. And I would just say that the minute I read through that, I said, and that exactly mirrors a number of the circumstances that we see here. And we too have sort of pulled our remaining hair out, wondering what we can do.
Strongly support us supporting that, and I'm only sorry we didn't think to do it outside of the household.
So obviously this is a remit to local government, is it correct? The problem I've experienced over the years with remits to local government is that sure, they'll do that a little bit in terms of taking it to ministers responsible for a lot of this stuff to try and get some law changes around it. But I'm just wondering if there's another avenue as well, or how can we reinforce what Gisborne's are trying to do? Because I don't, on its own, I mean, how many councils would they need to support?
Well, they need 5 to get it onto the agenda,
right?
But then they need a majority to turn it into LGNZ policy.
And I think to my mind, what this does for me is kind of, it's a bit of a shot in the arm, and a real reminder of the power that we have to lobby. So I would hope that not only will we support this remit, but we would use pretty much those same words to lobby our local MPs.
I appreciate that.
And sort of hold hands with Gisborne a bit.
Absolutely.
Councillor Maynard.
I also felt as you were reading that we could have possibly written that. So I think it actually it probably fits right around this table. I don't think there's anyone that's sitting here that hasn't actually mentioned something about this at some stage or another. So yeah, I think this is a very good remit. Some of them that we've heard in the past have not really fit in with our own brief, but this does. So.
Any further comment? No.
I've got one. I see the point of it, and I see the good side, but I also think you start to push very much boundaries into dictating to what people can do, and I'm a little bit worried how far these rules and regulations or laws, whatever comes in, can actually be used, if you know what I mean, how to explain it. Like who deems it to be supposedly no good for the environment or the community or whatever?
Well, the remit is asking for legislation through government, and to my mind, it speaks, used language like decaying and those sorts of things. So I think, to my mind, is looking for a very clear threshold rather than just, you didn't paint your building in the trendiest colours. That's not good enough. I would hope there's some protection.
Still concerns me a little bit, but anyway.
Yeah, so actually, I've got to say, the devil will be in the detail of what actually comes out of government, but I support going to have the conversation.
Yes.
But certainly, Woody, I do worry about
where the line's drawn
between public and private ownership.
Yeah.
Devil in the detail of the select committee, I would imagine.
Yes, if I could just pick up a point that councillor Olds made, and I go back to the local government conference last year, where I think there was a frank admission from the committee and the administration of LGNZ that they had not in the past done a very good job of picking up the remits that the conference had passed, and they made a significant commitment to do a much better job of following up on the remits that were brought to them and were passed.
Fantastic, right, so I am looking at a resolution that supports the Gisborne remit. Simple as that. Were there,
Got some words.
were there specific words?
Um,
If you send me the attachment, I could.
Yes, so, well, I will move that we support the Gisborne remit as I read it out, which was, and I will stand to, and I'm happy.
Fantastic. All those in favour of supporting the Gisborne remit to LGNZ, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no. Motion is carried. We will take a 10-minute amendment and return go to 10-minute adjournment. And then we will return to look to go to excluded.
Thank you, Madam Chair.